Hey everybody, got a President Walker II CB radio here. Sometimes I feel like in the CB world today that when people think about CB radios, they automatically assume that you have to have a 10-meter radio to use for a CB, and honestly that's not really the case at all. There's still some very, very good CB radios that are still being made, and they work exceptionally well. And I would consider this one to be one of those. This would be one of the best AM CB radios I would find on the market right now, to be honest, with the features that it has and the look of it, how easy it is to use. You have a standard S meter, which you don't find very often anymore. A lot of them have the digital style S meter. This has the old traditional look. It has a lot of the same traditional look. You could almost compare it in a sense to like this radio, which some people would say this was a great CB radio in its day, and really they still are if you have one that works good. So when you think about CB radio, I feel like the whole 10-meter thing has gotten thrown into the mix just a little too much, because honestly, especially if you're new into the CB radio hobby, you might be wondering, well, what's the deal with these 10-meter radios? Why does everybody want to use those as a CB? And honestly, I think the reason why is for power output, because of course they do more power output than 4-watt FCC legal limit like this radio. Another reason possibly for the extra channels, but I mean honestly, at least where I live, all the activities on channels 1 through 40, if you go above 40 or below 1, unless there's skip conditions, there's not really anything locally going on. So you could have ginormous amounts of channels. Like I could turn on my HF transceiver and go anywhere close to the CB band, and I'm not really going to find anything locally. So I think for most people that just want a CB radio, there's still some very nice radios out there on the market. You don't have to spend $300-400 or more on a radio to use as a CB when you have options like this available that are, in my opinion, it's a very, very good CB radio. It has a very good receiver, has very nice transmit, good sound, has weather band. You have a high cut A&L noise blanker. You can change these. You have 9 and 19. You could make this whatever your two favorite channels are, and you could go directly to them. You have an RF power control from the factory, which you didn't find that back in the older days. Like for instance, again, this Grand XL, they didn't give you that option back then, nor did they give you a weather band. Now, of course, they had some Uniden PC76s that had weather and Cobra 29s, but for the most part, you didn't get weather band as standard. This radio has talkback. You didn't get that back. Not that I'm a fan of talkback, but again, in the older days, you didn't get talkback. And talkback is good for some. You want to hear yourself through the speaker, by all means use it. I'm not really a fan of it. These don't have echo. It's not allowed by the FCC for echo. It does have a Roger beep. Whether you care for Roger beeps or not, it does have a Roger beep. You can turn it on or off. You have a tone control. Not only do you have a high cut, but say you want more highs in your received sound, you could turn your high cut off and you could crank this up to 5 and it would give you a very, very high tone. So if you like that sound, you could tailor it. If you want a lower sound, more bassier sound, you could turn it there. So you have that option in these. Of course, you have a dimmer, which only dims this. It does not dim the S meter. So if you were night driving or something, you didn't want to see that, you just see your S meter. This is where you can change your emergency. Let's make it 1, and then emergency 2, we'll make it 40. Okay. We have to wait just a second for the menu to kind of revert back. You could simply, I think, key the microphone too. There we go. So 40 and 1 standard. So that, in my opinion, that's a nice feature. It's quick, easy to use. This is for your standing wave. It's automatic. Press the button. Of course, we're on a dummy load here, so 1.0. Very nice feature. You don't have to sit there and worry about keying the microphone and calibrating. It's all done automatically through the radio. You have microphone type. This radio comes with the President standard mic. It is a electret style condenser. I may not have said that right. It's kind of one of those words that's hard to say. Some people say it in different ways. Some people call it electric even. Electret, I think, is actually how you say it. But I find that this is a much better suitable replacement for that factory microphone. This is a powered electric condenser microphone. 6-pin style, plugs right in to the radio. So you can use this microphone. It's a power microphone. You can adjust the volume level, or if you don't want to use a condenser type, you can simply turn it to dynamic. And now you can use any other style of microphone that is a dynamic, anything of your choice. And if you say your microphone isn't wired for a 6-pin, they do make microphone adapters you could plug in, and it would convert out to a 4-pin Cobra or something if you had a microphone that you didn't want to have to get rewired. You can turn your PA on or off, basically. And you can reset all the functions. And here's your colors. You have all different colors: blue, cyan, yellow, purple, clear, red. I like green. That's my personal favorite, but that's basically it for the radio. It's not too complicated, but CB is not really supposed to be complicated. You shouldn't have to worry about, especially on an AM radio, messing with steps of the frequency and everything that, you can get confused with the 10-meter radio. Now, if you're an experienced operator and you really want to spend the extra money, maybe a 10-meter radio is for you. But for most general people that just want to use a CB radio, I think that this radio was enough for them. And if you wanted to step up and get something with single sideband, then they have the McKinley here. It is a single sideband radio. It's a little different, a little more menu driven. Everything is on the display, the S meter included. I don't have it hooked up to power right now, or I'd turn it on, but I got a lot of other videos on the channel showing the McKinley. This is a very, very good radio. Someone that's interested in single sideband, I would definitely recommend this over the Walker 2, only if you want single sideband. If you don't want single sideband, then of course, why would you spend the extra money on a radio that had it if you know you're never going to use it? So again, that's where I would say this is probably the best radio out for an AM CB radio. Now, they do have other brands, other makes and models, but I don't think anybody has the quality right now of President. Another nice feature of this radio, you can charge your smartphone right there. That USB port, you can charge anything that takes power from a USB. Smartphone, like a Bluetooth receiver, I don't know, you name it, you can charge it. It's a nice jack right there, right on the front of the radio. So not only does it kind of act like the old days where, guys had the cigarette lighters in your cars and trucks and whatnot, you pop that out and you could plug in cigarette lighter plug. Some cars still have them, some don't. This is nice because you have a USB, so you don't have to worry about that. You don't even need an adapter really to charge a phone or anything. So I think it's a great radio. And I guess if you really want a radio like this and you're just not happy with the power, of course you're taking into consideration that by running something extra, you are breaking the law. So we're talking CB radio here. There's tons of people doing it. I'm not really saying that you should or shouldn't. I'm kind of biased to the whole thing, but there are little pieces of equipment available like this here that you can run with this, and it will allow you to do upwards of maybe 120 watts at the most. So it is enough to get you out there a little farther. It's not going to like make you talk to China or anything like that. I mean, conditions willingly, maybe you could at some point talk to another country, or it's all just in the atmospheric conditions with the radio waves. Just because you're running something doesn't mean it's going to make you do anything more than what your antenna or your radio is physically going to allow you to do at that time. But some guys swear by running extra power. They think it's just a necessity. And again, if you're only talking to someone a mile or two down the road, this will do you just fine. You don't need anything. You don't have to risk breaking the law or doing anything like that. But I'm just going to demonstrate for you guys like what you would expect to see out of this radio, and then I guess what you'd expect to see if you ran something like this. So first we're going to do the test just with the radio, so just bear with me a second. Okay, so this is just the radio, and we have our RF power set all the way up right here, mic gain all the way up. So we'll just look over here at the watt meter here. We have a 5 watts, so we're reading in the middle. So we're coming in about almost 3.5 watts, and you can see we're moving a little bit forward, but what we really want to look at is over here on the peak readings meter here. So we have a 25, so we're looking at the top 5, 10, 15, 20, the end line would be 25, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, check, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, hello radio. So about 13 watts or so, you know, it's nothing crazy or anything, but again, we're talking about just a regular approved type radio, you know, nice clear sound, normal power, so nothing too crazy. So what I'll do now is I'll adjust the radio down some. About 1.5 watts. So what I want to do when I turn this on, what I want to do is I want to set it at about 25. So we have it on. So we'll turn it up just a little bit. Okay, so about 25 watts. So that's a big difference right there, going from 3.5 or so to 25. Now, I'm not saying anybody should do this or anything. This is all just a demonstration. We're going into a dummy load, so we're not breaking any rules or anything right now. We're not going over the air. So now what I have is a 250 in there. So now we're reading on the top still. The 5 is 50. The 10 is 100. The little line in between is 125. So now we're going to get our microphone. And we'll simply talk into the microphone, and there we go, about 120 or 125, somewhere in there. You know, it's not a lot. It's just, you know, just enough to get you out there a little bit better. You know, it's not going to blow people away or anything like that, but it's definitely going to make a difference. So, and again, I'm not saying you should do this or anything like that. Everyone has their own choice to make on what they want to do with their radio equipment. But believe me, there's people running 10 times this all the time. So, I mean, if you guys are been out there, you know what's going on, and there's people running a lot more than this. So, hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, check, 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 1, 2, hello radio. So that's about what you get out of these little guys. You know, I've seen them advertised on the internet and stuff for like 200 watts. They don't do 200 watts. Maybe older styles did, I don't know, but the new ones are about 100 to 125. So, you know, you can drive this thing harder if you want to. We'll turn the RF power up all the way. I don't recommend doing this, but I'll just show it for demonstration purposes here. Now we're keying up almost probably over 60 watts, which is too much in my opinion, but here's our output power. You don't do any more, so there's really no reason to run more into it. You know, it may stay a little bit more constant, but nobody's going to notice that difference. If anything, you've lessened your modulation by running a higher carrier output, so you want to run it down a little more because you're going to sound just a little louder and clearer. So, but you know, it's not doing any more, so there's really no point to do that. So if we adjust it back down, so I don't know, about right there, and you know, we're doing just fine right here, about 25. We're getting a little over 100. It's a nice 4-to-1, so we're getting that 100% modulation on the peak. So there's really nothing more that you can really do here to make it any better. So I think that you know, going from just the radio to like with this, it's going to make a big difference for somebody. You know, again, you're not going to blast them out of their vehicle or their chair if they're on a base station or anything like that, but it's just going to get you out there a little stronger. So again, these are reasonably inexpensive. They are a little on the delicate side. If you overdrive this thing, if you try to run like a, I guess let's just say like a 10-meter radio into this thing and you accidentally hit it with too much, you're gonna blow it up. There's no question about it. They're not built for anything major as far as radio equipment. It's designed to do exactly what I showed you. That's about what they do. I think it would last you a long time just running it with just a normal radio, and that's really all you need to do. So I don't know what you guys think about it, but I think it's a good combo. Personally, if I had this radio in my vehicle and I'm just driving up and down the expressway, talking, listening, whatever, I'll just run the radio. I really don't need to worry about running extra power or anything like that. I feel like the radio is good enough. If I can reach out to someone a mile or two, that's good enough for me. I have other means of communication. I got ham radio, 2-meter radio, HF radio in my vehicle if I need be. So there's really no need to really run big power or anything out of my CB. It's more for just listening to traffic on 19, seeing what's going on. If there's locals talking, maybe go around to the local channel, listen a little bit. If I chime in on something, chime in. But for the most part, most people aren't going to really want to run out and get an amplifier or anything like that. It's not really necessary. Some guys swear by them. They won't talk on the radio without them. And I mean, that's fine too. Everybody has their own choices on what they want to do with their equipment. But like I say, they still make really nice CB radios. And I think this one is a great one. I think the McKinley here is a great one. So, and if you're looking for something smaller, I don't have one right here to show everybody, but they have the Bill, which honestly is almost as small as this. Actually, I think it might be a little bit smaller. So I think they're all good radios, and they're all just type accepted radios. So, you know, for the most part, you don't need to spend the $300 to $400 to $500, $600, $700 some of these radios are coming in at now for a 10-meter radio, because unless you have a ham license, the rest of that, all those other frequencies that they have and everything else really are useless to you as a CB radio operator. You're paying all that money for something you're never going to use. And even if you do have a ham license, a lot of times, a lot of them don't have single sideband. Some of them don't even have FM. They don't have the ability to do like a repeater tone on FM for like 10 meters. So a lot of that stuff is absolutely useless. So, you know, most people are buying them to use as a CB, and I mean, to each his own. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I just feel like there's a lot of good CB radios still on the market that get overlooked a lot. So let's just take one last look at this. I'll put it on the receive. We'll check it out on the signal generator, just kind of show what it's doing. Okay, so we have it hooked up to the receive signal generator. And maybe some of you guys don't know what a dummy load is. I was talking about when I was using this amplifier, I was basically still legal because I was using a dummy load. And if you don't know what that is it's just like an artificial antenna that's built to withstand, you know, the energy that a radio puts out. It absorbs it and it doesn't allow it to really radiate. Like, you may be able to pick me up if you were in this room with me or something, but you know, beyond the walls of the building and the home that I'm in, you're not going to pick me up at all. So that's basically what it is. It's a perfectly balanced 50 ohm load, which these radios require, 50 ohm, and it's built to withstand upwards of however it's designed. Mine is able to handle 1,000, basically a kilowatt of energy for about 10 seconds, I believe. So, you know, and as you decrease in power, of course, it can handle more for a longer period of time, but the little bit we were putting in is next to nothing for this dummy load. So that's basically what that means. And that's why when we did an SWR check, it was perfect. It was 1.0 because it's a perfectly balanced 50 ohm load. So what we have here, you can see on our signal meter, we're basically at S9 right now. Now this radio isn't adjustable or anything, so basically what you see is what you get. So what we're feeding in, this would be an S9 signal right here. So basically -73, 30% AM modulation. If you don't really understand what all this means, you could look it up on the internet and do a little research, but it's basically, we're just feeding in a signal out of this device coming through this coaxial cable into the back of the radio, and it tells the radio to produce generate a reading on the meter. So S9 basically right there. It may be just a little less, but we're pretty much right on S9. So what we want to do now is test the sensitivity of the radio. So by doing that, we will decrease the amplitude. Since we're negative, it's going to increase the number since we're negative. So what we want to look at here on this synad meter is we want this needle on this meter to come up to 12 and pretty much stay there, and that's going to give us a good idea of how sensitive the receiver is in this radio. So we'll start to decrease, and as we decrease, there's 103. I think actually we have our squelch on, so we need to shut that off. There we go. You don't want squelch on when you do a sensitivity test. That will definitely mess things up. So here's our 12, about right there. And if I increase again, you can see it's going up. So 103, we want it to come down. I think it's about 113.5. Yeah, about 113.5. So we can see right there the 12. You can hear the tone now. It's very, very loud still at that level. So at this point now, what we want to test is when is it going to drop out so we can't hear it anymore. So we will go to 118. You can still hear it. 122. 125. It's starting to get very, very touch and go about this level. You can still hear it somewhat. Pretty much gone there. I'm still able to hear it at 129. I'd say about 131 is the cutoff point. So like I say, that's exceptional in my opinion. Let's shut this off. So again, it's not a super expensive radio. It works very good, has very good receive sensitivity. If you have a good antenna on your vehicle, your truck, if you use this thing as a home base, you're going to hear what's out there. There's no question about it. So Again, I'll let you guys decide what you think, whether you like it, you don't like it. If you think 10-meter radios are the best, if you have a certain brand that you like, let me know in the comments. You know, I'm always open to hear what people think. I think this is the best out there. I think this blows any Uniden CB away, any Cobra CB. Really, there's not much really else out there as far as the 40 channel CBs are concerned. There's still a few Galaxy models, but I think this blows them away also as far as the receive sensitivity, the quality of how the receiver sounds, the ability to use the tone control plus a high cut. There's just a lot going on in this radio. Plus it has weather. You have the charger. They look good. It's not a very big radio. I think it was like 6 by 6 by 2 or something. It's not very big for what you get. It's a very nice radio. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. 7-3.